college news.
Okay, we're going all over the place. Final day today of the NFL OTA workouts. Then everybody goes on summer vacation, comes back middle of July, opening of training camp. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers went through his second day taking snaps with the Steelers after checking in and signing the contract on Monday. Did his first press conference in Pittsburgh, even though there are a lot of doubting Thomases and the fans and the media as to what Aaron Rodgers can bring to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he said the decision he made was the best decision for his soul. He's always a deep thinker. He said he talked extensively to Mike Tomlin. He said Tomlin sold him on the culture, said it was a cool conversation that he had with Mike Tomlin about where the team is. Says, I know this coach. I know this guy's track record. I believe in him, and I believe in the Steeler defense. So that's where we are. Aaron Rodgers is the man in Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be a difference maker. He'll be probably a little bit of a different quarterback than he was with the Jets, and obviously what he was in his halcyon days with the Green Bay Packers. Denver Broncos. I like this acquisition. Denver signs J.K. Dobbins, leading rusher Chargers last year. Prior to that, heavy-duty running back Baltimore Ravens. Really explosive run guy, tough guy, catch-the-ball guy. Has a lot of history of injuries, but when on the field, this guy makes a lot of plays. The unique thing is he's not going to be the only ball carrier in the Denver lineup. They got three different backs they're going to use. Each of them is a little bit different, but I happen to think J.K. Dobbins had over 1,000 all-purpose yards, had 905 yards rushing, like 5.5 yards per carry, caught a bunch of balls out of the backfield. So I think this is a really good acquisition for all the stuff that Sean Payton does. Rams camp, Davante Adams. He has looked electric in the Rams OTA workouts. He did his first extended interview this week at Rams camp. He said, I have found stability. I have found certainty. There are no dark clouds in this locker room, in this organization. He says, there is a vibe that I've developed with Matthew Stafford, and there is something special about that coach. Every time he talks, talking about Sean McVay, everybody listens. So the Rams are excited. Davante Adams has come to camp, and it's interesting. He's making this reference of no dark clouds, making reference to the junk that was the New York Jets and the mess that was the Raiders prior to that. Yeah. So that's interesting to see where that story comes from. San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan under a lot of heat. 49ers, general manager John Lynch under a lot of heat. Kyle Shanahan, coming off a 6-11 season, says that's not who we were last year. He says there are no longer any contract problems. There are no longer any distractions. There are no longer any injuries. We will not be 6-11 next season. Now, their roster has gone through some real changes there because of salary cap issues. They've moved some players off the roster. Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders says, yes, I might be fourth on the depth chart. I might be getting the least number of snaps of any of the quarterbacks. I'm not viewing that as a negative. I'm not viewing that as a problem. I'm going to take every opportunity with every snap, and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm just going to continue to play. And Shedeur Sanders also made the public comment, you guys don't know me. I'm spending 10 hours a day in the facility. And the final one is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'll make a comment here at the end of this item on the Bengals that you might agree with. Maybe you won't. I don't care. This Bengal team's got a real problem. Joe Burrow has now gone public. The star quarterback sounds off again, says this locker room supports that guy. Trey Hendrickson, the Pro Bowl defensive end pass rusher, has had 35 sacks last 2 years, and the Bengals have refused to give him a contract extension. Hendrickson says, I'm holding out. I'm not going to play for you guys unless you take care of me like other star players get taken care of around the league. Joe Burrow stands up and says this locker room supports that guy. Now, this is Joe Burrow, who also stood up and said the same thing when Jamar Chase was trying to get his contract extended, and they finally got that deal done. So now he's supporting Trey Hendrickson. In essence, he's telling Mike Brown, the owner, you need to pay this guy because this is one of your best players. And if that's not enough, their number one draft pick, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, walked out of camp today. He has been at practice, has not practiced, has gone through all the meetings, but he's unsigned and has refused to sign a contract that has different language for number 1 draft picks that other teams have signed. They want to change the money bonus guarantee in his contract and make it year to year, not totally guaranteed. Nobody in the NFL is doing that with number 1 pick. Cincinnati's trying to do it. And they've had this ongoing dialogue. And he said, I am not practicing. And then yesterday, as he stood on the sidelines, they refused to serve him water with the other players as the players are coming off the field. How ticky-tack can you get? So he is now upped, and he walked out before the meeting started at 7 o'clock today and says he's not coming. And then he took a shot at the vice president of the Bengals, Katie Blackburn, who's made all these negative comments about players and contracts. Says, why is it you're always out there trying to win an argument with your players? You don't seem interested in winning games. And he packed his car and he left. The Bengals just are beyond reality as to how they operate in the modern day NFL. And I'll tell you what, Paul Brown, the legendary founder of the team, the Hall of Fame coach and general manager, I swear to you, if he could get up out of the grave, Paul Brown would fire his son Mike Brown as president of the team because of the way Mike Brown operates this nickel and dime stuff. It just absolutely blows my mind. And the media, the columnists in Cincinnati are just going crazy against Mike Brown and the Bengals right now. He's got a problem because if they don't solve this issue with Trey Hendrickson, Joe Burrow's going to wake up one morning and say, I'm out of here. You trade me. I don't want to play for you anymore. This to me is a real bad set of circumstances, bad optic for the entire Bengal organization. It's got to be more than just putting as much money in your pocket as you can. Historically, they've always run a cheap operation. They've had the least number of scouts. They've had lousy practice facilities. And then they get Joe Burrow and they get competitive and gets him into the playoffs. And he takes a terrible beating because the rest of the roster's not good. I think it's a terrible way to do NFL business. And if Paul Brown could walk down that hallway right now, he'd fire Mike Brown. John, I'm sorry. I have a few opinions about these topics on the table. Go ahead and expand out from Aaron Rodgers all the way down to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I want to comment definitely on both of those stories, but let's talk about Aaron Rodgers first. I saw a comment today on X that apparently an executive for the New York Jets was calling out Aaron Rodgers saying, you're going to be irrelevant by Thanksgiving. Did you see that?
No.
I mean, that's a bold statement because he said they're not even the first or second best team in that division. The Pittsburghs are third best team in the AFC North. And this guy was convinced that Aaron Rodgers has nothing left in the tank. It's going to be some other problem, more drama in Pittsburgh.
Might well be, but maybe not. Maybe he'll be surrounded better in Pittsburgh with the quality of players they put there compared to what the Jets did not put around Aaron Rodgers. That's kind of odd that a executive, a player personnel guy from a club would criticize another player on another team. People in Hempstead, Long Island ought to just take freaking care of their bad franchise and not worry about Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think that's the dark cloud that Devontae Adams was referring to with
You
the Jets.
think?
Yeah. Okay. The other comment is on the Bengals story. The line from the first round draft pick. Now, good for him for standing up, for getting what he deserves. You know, the league standard for the first round picks, and he walks out. And I love that. And he said, you guys are more concerned about winning the argument
In public.
Which just goes to show you that's a poorly run organization, not just in the world of sports, but everywhere, because this is a mentality of management where they want to win and they want the other guy to win, lose, where really you should be building win-win relationships. So you're happy and the player's happy and the coaches are happy and you create that vibe. It's just so petty the way they go after this, and they didn't even give him water.
Yeah. Isn't that absurd?
It's ridiculous.
So that's where we are. All things National Football League. You're a pro football fan. Feel free, jump on board. We want to hear what you've got to say about these hot topics, or if we hit your hot button on something we talked prior, feel free to join us. We're not